Hello, and welcome to Activ Doctors' January webinar, Fad Diets, the Good, the Bad, and the Hungry. Every day, it seems a new diet is ready to make weight loss faster and easier than ever before. These diets might spur short-term weight loss, but many are difficult to follow, have arbitrary rules, and a few could put your health in danger. Joining us today is Clinical Assistant Professor from Georgetown University and Activ Doctors Online Medical Director, Dr. Howard Zahalsky. Dr. Zahalsky, welcome.
Thank you, Caitlin. All right, so today we're going to talk about bad diets. And I will say, when I do these webinars, if you've been following our webinar series, you may have noticed that I actually try and put some work into these to find out some really good information to share with you. And this is the first time that really what I found in the information was a little bit different than what I expected to find. And I actually found what hopefully will be some valuable information for you, the listening audience. So first, let's talk about what we're going to define as fad diet. A fad diet is a diet that makes promises of weight loss without backing by solid science, and in many cases are characterized by highly restrictive or unusual food choices. And there are hundreds of fad diets. So let's go on, and on the next slide, we'll see a list of some of the many, many fad diets. So some of the more popular ones that have been around recently that I've heard a lot about and read a lot about are the Atkins diet or the low-carb diet. There are many low-carb diets. The Atkins diet was kind of the first one, followed by the South Beach diet, and now there's many, many different diets that advertise themselves as variants of the low-carb diet. The next diet we're going to talk about today is the paleo diet, which we'll discuss in more detail. That has some low-carb components as well, but some other factors as well. And finally, we're going to discuss juicing and rather juice fasting, a diet that consists of almost entirely drinking of juices. This is supposed to have advantages beyond just dieting and losing weight, but actually other health benefits as well in terms of detoxification. And we'll discuss the pros, the cons, and the potential health consequences of all of these diets. So when we're trying to decide on the diet, why are we looking to diet? Well, the first reason we're looking to diet is because you're fat. Most people end up starting a diet because they're concerned about their weight and they're a little bit overweight. This picture obviously shows someone who's probably more than just a little bit overweight. And here, on the next slide, we're going to see he's trying to decide which diet to choose. Now, the truth is, not everyone who chooses one of these diets does it because they're morbidly obese. A lot of people choose a diet just because they want to lose a few pounds. Some of them want to lose weight because they have a wedding coming up in 6 months and just really want to look good in their wedding pictures. Other people, I even have 80-year-olds come into my office and say, "Doc, I feel like I'm overweight. I just want to lose a few pounds. Can you recommend a diet?" And to be honest, for those patients, I generally recommend not dieting because the older you get, a little bit of fat padding can actually be good for you because when you fall, you bounce instead of breaking. But the vast majority of people who want to start one of these diets do so because they're overweight and would love to drop a few pounds, both to make themselves look better and oftentimes for their health as well. So they're faced with a guy like in this picture. Which of these hundreds of diets do I choose? And so this gentleman decided to settle on a low-carb diet or the Atkins diet, and we'll see the first slide for that coming up next. So the Atkins diet, bring on the bacon. The Atkins diet, the fundamental principles are low-carb. What does low-carb mean? Well, as doctors, we divide all foods, to be honest, everything edible, into one of three categories. It's either a carbohydrate, a fat, or a protein. A protein is a muscle-based item. For instance, things that are protein, steaks are mostly protein. Chicken is mostly protein. Even fish is mostly protein. Plants have some protein, but less. Fats are, as the name implies, fats. Things that have oil in them, whether it be vegetable oil like peanut oil or canola oil, it's still a fat. There are some better fats, some worse fats, but they're all considered fats. Butter, for instance, is a fat. when you have a piece of well-marbled steak, that white stuff in between the protein is fat, and everything else is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the fibrous things that we eat. There are some carbohydrates that are actually quite good for you. For instance, celery, a very fibrous food to eat, but our body can't break down those fibers. So even though we eat it, it doesn't get absorbed and it isn't sensed by our body as calories. On the other hand, sugar is considered a carbohydrate as well. Anything that is a sugar is a carbohydrate. Table sugar, absolutely a carbohydrate. High fructose corn syrup is a carbohydrate. Even lactose, a key ingredient for milk that keeps it from being sour, is a carbohydrate. So low-carb diets are all trying to avoid those carbohydrates. The key element of low-carb diets is that although you have to avoid carbohydrates, you can eat all the fat and protein you want. So if you want to have a big, juicy steak for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and for snacks in between, you're absolutely allowed. Because there's no limitation on the fats that you eat or the protein that you eat, they advertise the fact that you're not going to be hungry. It's not a diet of deprivation because you're still eating all of the fat and protein that you want. Let's go on to the next slide. So on the next slide, we see the Krebs cycle, also known as the citric acid cycle. And it's a series of biochemical reactions used by all aerobic, that means oxygen using, like people, mammals, to generate energy. I am not going to go through the Krebs cycle with you. The main point of the Krebs cycle is to point out that every medical student and every student of biology has to memorize the Krebs cycle several times over the course of their education. And it is one of the most painful things that I have ever done in becoming a doctor is memorize this Krebs cycle over and over. But what does it mean to you? Well, the point of this is that all cells, every cell in your body, from your heart cells to your brain cells to your muscle cells, they all need sugar. The only thing that they can use as food is sugar. The key behind low-carb diets is that if you eat sugar, your body will have sugar to use. If you don't eat sugar, or carbs, which can be easily converted into sugar because they are either sugar or connections of multiple sugar molecules, then your body uses the calories that you eat much less efficiently. It is much harder to take a protein and turn it into a sugar that your body can use than it is to turn a sugar that you eat into a sugar that you use. As a result, you waste a lot of calories and energy turning the protein and the fat into sugar. In other words, imagine that you're trying to buy a diamond ring, and that diamond ring is fat. That diamond ring is belly fat, and the diamond ring costs $2,000. Well, if you have $2,000 in cash, you can buy that belly ring. That's 2,000 calories worth of carbohydrates will equal one diamond ring worth of fat. But let's say instead you eat 2,000 calories worth of protein. Well, because that would be the equivalent of trying to pay for that diamond ring with 2,000 rupees, an Indian money unit. So the bank, in order to convert that into dollars, which is the only thing that the jeweler will accept, insists that they take 2/3 of those rupees in order to convert the money for you. They charge a fee of 1,300 rupees. So now you only have $700, where before you had $2,000 worth of rupees. So you need 3 times as many rupees to get the same amount of dollars. It's the same way that it works with the Krebs cycle and with metabolism in your body. You have to eat approximately 3 times as much protein to equal the amount of calories your body sees in 1 unit of carbohydrates. Because your body uses protein less efficiently, as long as there's no carbohydrates around at the time, your body will start breaking down the protein, will use up energy breaking down the protein, and your body will start to believe that it is starving. So in addition to using the fat and the protein you eat less efficiently, it will start to break down your belly fat as well. I hope that didn't get too scientific, but to say that if you don't eat any carbs and you just eat protein, your body will use the protein less efficiently. You can eat more calories, and your body will think of them as less calories, and your body is more likely to break down your belly fat. So one problem with the low-carb diet, if you're eating all those protein and all those fat, you're eating a lot more cholesterol. Cholesterol is a key ingredient in most type of animal products. Steaks, fatty foods, they all have lots of cholesterol. So there was a big concern, especially when the Atkins diet and other low-carb diets first came out, that if you eat these low-carb, high-protein, high-fat diet, you're really going to do a number on your cholesterol. So with all of this in mind, knowing the science behind the Krebs cycle and the concerns about cholesterol, we did a bunch of research to see what is the truth behind the Atkins and low-carb diets. And on the next slide, you can see. So the first thing that I was able to find is that there have actually been plenty of studies done. The first study, and the best study that I was able to find here, showed 120 patients, and they combined them. They made half of them on a low-carb diet and half of them on a traditional type of diet, the conventional diet. And do you know what they found? They found that the low-carb people lost more weight. And not only that, they found that the patients who did the low-carb diet actually had a better cholesterol ratio. What's a cholesterol ratio? Well, it's the good cholesterol to the bad cholesterol. So even though they were eating more cholesterol, because they were losing weight and because their body was breaking down fat more, their cholesterol ratio of the good cholesterol to the bad cholesterol ratio actually improved. And as you can see, this was a 12-month study. And if you compare the two groups, the low-carb group lost 5 pounds more than the conventional diet group. But there have been other studies that have shown things that weren't quite as good. First of all, another study that I was able to look at showed that even though the low-carb group lost more weight, the weight came back after 12 months, that the people in the conventional diet did a better job of keeping off the weight. Admittedly, on the last slide, they lost much less weight. They were only down a couple of pounds from their baseline. But that the people in the low-carb study, after a while, start to gain the weight back and end up at approximately the same weight as the people who were in the conventional diet. Why would that happen? Well, I mentioned that as part of the Krebs cycle and the way that it is working, your body starts a starvation response, and that helps to break down your body's natural fat. However, when your body is starving, it does more than just break down your fat. It slows down your metabolism. So after a while, your body senses that you are eating less, we'll say calories. It's really not calories because we just learned that you're actually eating more calories, but your body sees it as less calories, but slows down your metabolism so you won't starve. So you have to eat less and less, or your body will use less and less energy. And as a result, over time, even if you keep your diet exactly the same, your weight will start to creep back up because your metabolism has slowed down on these diets. The other thing about low-carb diets is that you lose a whole bunch of weight very quickly at the beginning. Why is that? Your body stores 5 to 10 pounds of water in what's called glycogen. Glycogen is its backup sugar stores. So if you're on a regular diet where you're trying to lose weight, but you're eating a mixture of carbs and fat and protein, your body continues to maintain these emergency backup sugar stores that hold 5 to 10 pounds of water in them just to keep it there. If you're on a low carb diet, your body gives up these stores early and you get an initial huge 5 to 10 pound weight loss very quickly. That's not fat that you've lost. That's water weight associated with your carbohydrate stores. That doesn't happen if you're on a regular balanced weight loss diet. Your body keeps a hold of those stores. So over time, as your body loses weight in a traditional diet, those stores slowly can go down as well, and that water weight can equilibrate. So don't be fooled. A total loss of weight in a low-carb diet is not entirely just based on loss of fat. A lot of it is more water weight that you lose from losing your sugar stores on the low-fat diet. A final thing about the low-carb diet is, in this picture here, what I'm showing is a sad kidney. I don't know if everybody recognized those as kidneys, but that's a sad kidney there on the left. People with kidney problems and overweight patients with high blood pressure and high cholesterol are more likely to have stressed out kidneys. Patients with kidney problems are supposed to eat low-protein diets because protein stresses out the kidney. If you're an overweight person who is trying to rely on a low-carb, high-protein diet, you may be putting unnecessary stress on your kidneys. The studies that have all been done on these diets, these low-carb diets, have rarely gone beyond 12 months, so we don't fully know the effect that putting all of this protein stress on the kidneys is going to have on kidney function later on. So despite the fact that the studies did show good results on cholesterol and did show better results in weight loss in the first 12 months in some cases on the low-carb diets, there clearly are other things such as water weight loss as opposed to fat loss, kidney stress, and lowering your metabolism that may prove that low-carb diets are not necessarily as good for you or as helpful as they are believed to be. So from low-carb, we're going to go on to the next slide, and we're going to talk about the paleo diet. Eat like a caveman. So what is the paleo diet? The paleo diet is similar to the low-carb diet. And on the next slide, we can see that it also is a diet that features a lot of protein and fats and a limited amount of carbohydrates. It's a variation on the low-carb diet. However, unlike a strict low-carb diet, you are allowed to eat certain carbohydrates. In particular, the goals of the paleo diet are to eat foods like the caveman did, foods that are more made for us because they're before humans started domesticating animals and genetically engineering food and using chemical processes to create foods like high fructose corn syrup. So you're allowed to eat meats because old hunter-gatherers were able to kill animals and eat meat, and you're allowed to eat certain raw foods, raw vegetables, and things that cavemen and hunter-gatherers would have been able to find. What are you not allowed to eat? No refined sugars, no refined grains, no dairy because hunter-gatherers did not milk cows, and no legumes because legumes were apparently not introduced into the human diet until much later in evolution. Now, there have been a bunch of studies on this diet as well, and they have showed generally a decrease in your blood sugar and your A1C. Anyone who has diabetes or prediabetes knows that the A1C is an overall measurement of how well diabetes is doing. They show an increase in good cholesterol and a decrease in triglycerides, which is a kind of bad cholesterol. In addition, in 2015, there was a journal article in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition that did a meta-analysis of studies. What that is, they combined a whole bunch of studies into one big study and found that there was an improvement in metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is the decreased ability to handle sugar that comes with being overweight. That patients on the paleo diet had a decreased waist size, a decreased blood pressure, a decreased blood sugar compared to an overall balanced diet. So there definitely is something in the studies to the benefit of the paleo diet. However, similar to the low-carb diet, all of these studies rarely looked beyond 6 to 12 months. So there is a big suspicion out there that, number one, this also leads to a relative starvation response. Your body doesn't see the simple carbohydrates, the simple sugars. As a result, dumps your emergency sugar reserves, causes a large drop in water weight in the beginning that you don't get with a more balanced diet. It can, in certain instances, slow your metabolism as well, because your body is not seeing carbohydrates. It is seeing the proteins, it's seeing the fats that it can't metabolize as well. It means that it will break down fat better in the short term than a high-carb, even low-calorie diet. But with this slowed metabolism, over time you are likely to put weight back on unless you dramatically limit your calories, which is a hallmark of the diet not to do. Again, the goals of the low-carb and the paleo diets are to eat as much as you want. That way you will feel full while your body's metabolism does the rest. But as your metabolism slows down, the weight loss slows down, stops, and can sometimes go the wrong way. And again, with all of the protein, you risk doing kidney damage over time, and this is not being carefully looked at. Let's go on to the next slide. The juice diet, to eat or not to eat. So juice fasting has been popular for several years. Beyonce apparently made it popular when she says she lost 20 pounds by going on a juice fast. It has also been thought of as something to detoxify your body of all of these dangerous toxins. And in a juice fast, what you do is you take whole fruits and whole vegetables, put them in a blender or a juicer, and drink that, and that's all you get to eat and drink. But because you are on a juice fast, you can drink or eat, drink darn near as much carrot juice, cucumber juice, or tomato juice as you want. There have been some studies on juice fasting, but they have been very, very small. There was one study that included only 5 people that showed a decrease in cholesterol, however, actually showed, despite the fact that you're eating less calories on this, and despite the fact that you're actually eating almost no protein in a juice diet, an initial increase in bad cholesterol. One thing that the study showed, even despite the fact that they were small, is that you definitely lose weight. Most people can't drink that much juice to get enough calories to control their weight. So your weight definitely goes down. But again, you develop a starvation response. Your body will break down your natural fat. However, because it is juice, juice sits in your stomach much less than protein and fat. As a result, your stomach senses nothing in it. Your stomach raises its acid level in response to not having enough food in it, and that's what makes you hungry. So people on a juice or who do juicing or on a juice fast invariably are hungrier than in practically any other fad diet. They also looked at the fact that juice fast claimed to detox you, and in multiple studies they were not able to find any evidence of any lower amount of toxins in your body. All in all, every study in any reputable journal said that juice fasting should be avoided and is probably more dangerous to you than helpful. All right, let's go on to the next slide. So over the years, when patients have always asked me what diet I should go on, I have always espoused the no-crap diet. It's always been my contention that if you have a diet that includes no chips, no ice cream, and no cake, your weight will go down. In fact, over the years, I've always thought that the reason that low-carb diets or paleo diets worked is because any diet that took chips, ice cream, and cake out of your diet, regardless of what else you were allowed to eat, was likely to make you lose weight. Now, it is true that, as I said at the beginning, I actually learned some stuff in the research for this webinar. And it does appear that independent of just eating ice cream and cake, over the course of a year, you are going to lose more weight in a paleo diet or a low-carb diet than you are with my simple no-crap diet. The problem is that by or shortly after a year, because of the starvation response, your weight will start to go up again if you use one of those fad diets. In addition, your metabolism will go down, making it much, much harder to maintain your weight loss because your body senses you are starving and cuts the amount of calories that it burns. In addition, it becomes darn near impossible in our modern society to maintain a low-carb diet indefinitely, which is why I like to preach to my patients that the smart thing to do is whatever diet you choose, choose a diet that you can live with, because any diet that you use to just drop weight in the short term is not going to create will get a temporary benefit without long-term going forward benefits, especially when I'm potentially worried about their kidneys. Now the exception being, again, those young men and women who want to get ready for a wedding. If your goal is just to look good in a wedding dress 6 months from now, yes, I agree 100%, a low-carb or even paleo diet may be the direction to go, because if all you're really looking for is a short-term fix, then maybe one of these fad diets might actually work a little bit better than a conventional diet. But if your goal is overall health, stick to the more conventional diet, stick to something that you can live with, stick to something that will have long-term benefits to your sugar and your cholesterol and your overall health. Now let's go on to the next slide. So how can Activ Doctors Online help you with your weight loss and health goals? Well, first of all, with our personal health records, you can have all of your health information readily available for all of your doctors. Many of my patients see internists, and then they go see endocrinologists, and then some of them even have weight loss doctors, and each one is changing their diet. Each one is monitoring their protein levels and their kidney function, and sometimes things get duplicated for no good reason. This allows my patients with multiple medical problems to keep track of all of their problems on all of their trips to the doctor so that they don't get any unnecessary testing, and they make sure that all of their doctors are kept informed of all of their health issues. Next, with our e-consultation feature, if your doctor is a member of Activ Doctors Online's group of doctors, we are able to arrange for e-conferences. Contact your doctor over the internet. Maybe if your doctor is following you for weight loss, all you need to do is report into your doctor so that they could adjust your medicines or the doses of your diabetic or blood pressure medicines, and they may not need to do anything beyond just talk to you, and to have an e-consultation can be much more convenient. Finally, with our second medical opinion process, should you have a difficult medical problem, out-of-control diabetes, let's say you do end up with kidney failure, whether because of your fad diet or because of the natural progression of your diseases, we can put you in touch electronically with one of our thousands of doctors from around the United States and around the world who are specialists who can give you our opinion and their opinion on the best thing to do for your health, so that even if you live somewhere where you may not have the access to the best doctors in the world, we can put you in touch with the best doctors in the field of your concern so that you can make sure you're getting the top-level medical care. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Caitlin, who can tell us a little bit more about Activ Doctors Online's approach.
Thank you, Dr. Zahalsky. Here at Activ Doctors, our vision is to reinvent healthcare by providing user-friendly mobile health solutions that allow people all over the world to live healthier, safer, and more productive lives. We strive to educate, engage, and empower our members to really take control of their health destiny, to save time, money, and in some cases, their life. We invite you to try Activ Doctors Online free for 30 days. Simply head over to our website, www.activdoctorsonline.com, and click Get Started. If you'd like more information about the webinar, would like to schedule a demonstration of our unique health platform, or have any questions about the service, please feel free to contact Dr. Zahalsky or myself directly using contact@activdoctors.com. You can also reach us on social media. Find us on Twitter at Activ Doctors and on Facebook and LinkedIn at Activ Doctors Online. Thank you, and we hope you'll join us next month for another informative health webinar.